And we are live. So now I'm letting my Hello Kitchen. Happy Sunday. I don't usually do broadcasts on Sunday, but we have a very special guest, Chelle Murphy of PurDate from Tunisia. Thank you so much for joining us, Chelle. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. We had it was a bit of a challenge to kind of schedule since we're on two totally different time zones. Totally
Right.
opposite. It's nighttime for you, morning time for me. And you said you were in the middle of a sandstorm, right?
Yes, we've had some pretty bad sandstorms here. So
Oh,
bad you can't even see when you're driving. I was caught in it the other night. It was a little bit scary.
oh, wow. Wow. That is interesting. I've never really talked to somebody who was in the middle of a sandstorm because when we were connecting, you were like, I don't know if I'm going to have internet because of a sandstorm. And I thought, well, I've never heard that reason before.
It's like a blizzard, but with snow, with sand instead of
Yeah,
snow.
that's what I've heard. So you'll have to tell us more. We're going to get into the story of how you ended up at the edge of the Sahara in Tunisia. And I know we probably have some viewers who are from Tunisia or have family there. So it's going to be really interesting for people. Now, I'm going to tell everybody how we met, actually. A few weeks ago, well, it was like last month, I think. I was in Las Vegas at the specialty food show. Those of you who follow me may have seen that on Instagram and TikTok. You know, I was real excited to be at these shows, and I was just about to leave. I was at my last booth. I mean, I swear, it was like the very, very last booth. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm so tired. I've been here all day. And I was heading out the door, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw a nice booth with beautiful packaging, beautiful displays, and it was for dates. And so, of course, I'm like, oh, I really need to go talk to them because they're doing dates. But what also caught my eye was the photo of a Muslim woman, visibly, with the hijab. And then it said something about like social programs. And I'm like, what are they doing? What's this about? It really piqued my interest. So I went over and I started asking questions, and I think it was your husband that I spoke with, and he said, you guys were in Tunisia, and I thought, well, and he started telling me a little bit about the stuff that you do, sort of the social aspects of your business, and I thought, well, I need to know more. I thought, this is really interesting. They're not just selling dates; they're doing a lot more than just selling dates. And so then you followed up, and I was very happy that you did because it gets overwhelming after going to a food show and seeing hundreds of products. And then you and I spoke, and you told me a lot of really interesting things that you do. And so I'm going to introduce who you are now and your company, and then I'm going to give you the floor so I can stop talking. Okay. So I'm here today with Chelle Murphy. She is the marketing director of PurDate, based in Tunisia at the edge of the Sahara. And PurDate is an American company based in North Africa at the edge of the Sahara Desert, making date-based sweeteners, notably date sugar. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Lots of date sugar. The date sugar is made from underutilized dates that would otherwise be wasted. By drying the dates in the Sahara sun and grinding them into sugar, they provide their customers with an all-natural sugar made from one clean ingredient, 100% organic Deglet Noor dates. They do all this while employing women in an economically challenged part of the world. So that's the two things we're really going to dive into today: your company, your products, the people behind it that are helping you bring the date sugar to the world. And then at the end, you're going to show us a couple of recipes. So, Chelle, tell us more about you, how you ended up in Tunisia, and how you ended up with this beautiful brand.
It's a long story. A lot of people ask that because it's kind of odd. We're the only expats living here on the edge of the Sahara Desert. So there has to be a story behind it, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was about 7 years ago, and we were working along the coast of North Africa, along the Mediterranean, running an English teaching business. And so we taught business English to companies. And it was during actually a vacation that we decided we were going to go to the Sahara Desert, and we were going to do the camp out and all the various things that you do, sleep under the stars. And we really fell in love with it. Like, it's just such a really cool place. And we were introduced to date sugar at that point. There wasn't a lot of it. One of my friends, she was looking for it because she knew about it. She's a vegan, and so naturally she uses substitute sugars like that. And at the time, I was taking care of my my two nephews that were living with us for 3 years. And I was teaching them in homeschool, and one of them had ADHD, attention deficit disorder.
Mhm.
And at that time, he was taking a lot of medication, like 40 milligrams of Ritalin, and I didn't like him being on medication. And so I did a lot of research, and I was just looking for healthier alternatives and how to heal him. And one thing that I read, it said if you cut out white sugar and processed foods and that type of thing, that it really helps. And so we went to a whole food plant-based diet at that point. And we took some dates from the desert, and I started drying them on my roof and grinding them up in a coffee grinder into sugar. And this is kind of what it looks like. I'll just show you kind of like what we make now.
It almost looks like raw turbinado, but it's much finer.
Yeah, it's really fine.
Yeah.
So we've gotten it finer over time. It didn't turn out this way at first. So I was really just trying to find solutions for my own issues with sugar in my own home. And it really seemed to help. We cut his medication down to a fourth of what he was taking, and we caught up in 2 years of schoolwork in 1 year. So it made me a believer in the product. And not only that, I felt a change in my own body and in my family's too as well. And it made us feel healthier. You don't realize how white sugar affects you and how much it's in everything that you buy, really, most everything.
Yeah, I mean, even like yogurt has sugar in it. Wow. Doesn't need it, you know?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So
once you search, you realize how much you're consuming, and it's scary.
Right. And it's not hard here where we live to cook from scratch because there's not a lot of options for eating out or anything like that. So anyway, we like the sugar so much. My husband, he's this entrepreneurial minded guy and very passionate about life and everything about life. And so he said, why don't we move to the desert and start making this sugar? Because we looked in America and there weren't very many options for it at the time. And so
this is when you were in Tunisia. You were already in Tunisia at the time.
We were already in Tunisia for a few years because we really needed some Arabic before we moved to a place like this, because it's hard to really go around and communicate with people if you don't have Arabic. So at the time we were also taking lessons to learn how to speak. Are you fluent now? I wouldn't say fluent. Arabic is sort of a language that I think you would study for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's true. And plus there's dialects where you are. Yeah. What's that?
There's different dialects, I'm sure, even from Tunis to the Sahara. They probably speak a little differently. Yeah,
very different. But my second grade daughter, who's 7, she's pretty fluent. She's more fluent than me. So.
That's amazing. Kids are amazing. You got them in when they're young. So
that's right. She goes to Arabic school and she studies every subject in Arabic. So
wow.
Yeah. So we moved down here. We've been here for 3 years. We found that it was a really economically neglected place, kind of like you mentioned before. And we just really wanted to bless the people here. And instead of taking the jobs away and manufacturing the sugar somewhere else, we wanted to do it in the oases where the dates are from. And I wanted to show you just kind of what the dates look like off the tree. And in America, I don't know if they sell them like this or not.
Yeah, you see them in stores, but they actually, lose their color, I think, a little bit. But usually they're sold in 2 packs, like one vine like that and another next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so we eat these. These are a part of our daily diet. But a lot of times people here, they just eat the date. They don't think about other ways that they can use it. And so being able to introduce this healthy alternative sugar to friends here has been really fun, especially because the diabetes rate is really high in this country.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of people eat a lot of bread. And so a lot of young people, even friends that I have diabetes. So it's been really fun to bake cakes for them and sweets and bring it over to them and say, hey, this has no white sugar. You can enjoy this. So that's one thing we want to do, is just kind of educate people on the harmful effects of white sugar and then some substitutes they can use.
Well, when we spoke, what really struck me was when you said that date sugar is not really utilized in the country. And I really thought that this was sort of like an ingredient that they're probably using there, and this was something maybe you learned because of that. But you're saying no, this was something that the people barely use, and you can't really even find it in the country unless you're in a bigger city. That's what you said, right?
Yeah,
So
as of 2 years ago, you can find it. Before that, you couldn't find it. Yeah, it was hard to find.
wow. How did you, I know you were grinding it yourself and all of that, but how did you end up discovering that this could be a product that you could market and sell to in the US, because that's where you are selling it. And I'll put links below for everybody to check that out. But how did you go from the concept of feeding this to your nephew, then wanting to make this into a business?
Yeah, so we actually attended a food show. It wasn't Fancy Food Show where you were and where we were last February, but it was another one. And we just kind of, my husband and I, my mom took care of the kids one weekend, and I think it was Chicago, and we just walked around with date sugar, bags of date sugar, and we're like, hey, it's ingredients companies, would you consider using this? And when we saw that there was interest, we came back and we designed kind of drew up like what a dryer would look like a solar dryer, because we want to be environmental friendly and everything. And so then we had it built, and we actually had a crane like put it on top of our house. On the coast. We were testing the whole thing before we moved down here.
Oh, wow.
And we realized it worked. And so when we moved down here, we got everything set up, and it is a slow process though. It took a while. So
well, and so once you decided to put this in, packaging and all of that, and you're in the middle of the desert, basically, how do you run a company from the middle of the desert?
It's not easy, because when we need supplies or machines break, we need to go to another town 5 hours away usually to get those things to fix the machines. So yeah, those kind of things like structure wise and logistically are complicated.
Do you have problems with internet there often?
Yeah, we do.
I know. I mean, when I was in Turkey, I was in, a city, but internet was, if it rained, the internet would go away. So it's a little bit different than where I am now. So it's kind of it's a challenge to run things, but you're doing it. And I think the packaging is great. I really loved the colors when I was so attracted to, and you do a really good job of putting everything together so nicely and beautifully. But let's talk about the harvest season. I'm in California, Southern California. It's the date country if you just go an hour or two away. And this climate is similar to Tunisia. And if you go inland, you're sort of, there you are in sort of the desert. So do you have similar harvest seasons and growing seasons that we do here? Or is it totally
What is your harvest season? September through December?
Something like that. Mostly October is usually when they're picking, I think. Yeah. So is that usually when you're doing too?
It is. It's about the same.
Is it just one time a year?
Just one time a year. So they'll store the dates in freezers. And then, for example, like Ramadan, they'll pull them back out. So what they do is, and have you ever seen them harvested? It's very interesting.
Yes, I've been to Coachella Valley and Bard Valley, and I've seen it. It's so beautiful.
Do they climb the trees like they do here?
Yeah. I climbed the tree in Bard Valley. Yeah, it's awesome. It's so awesome. You're up so high. And what's striking to me is how natural it is. Like, they don't really need pesticides, these trees.
No, they use lemon trees.
Sorry?
They use lemon trees. They'll plant lemon trees
in between. See, they don't do that here that I know of. Maybe they do, but no one's ever said that to me, but that would make sense. But the interesting point is that when I asked about natural predators, they said no, because the dates are so high up, what's going to eat them? And unless they get diseases or something. But it's really interesting, like how this is such a natural superfood and so easily portable. And when I asked you about Ramadan and the people there and what they're doing with the dates, you said that they go into the desert and grab like a backpack full of dates and dry them for Ramadan. They get enough.
Well,
or something?
Yeah, they do that for when they're, so for example, like when the shepherds are herding up their camels, so say their camels have been out in the desert for a while and they're
Mhm.
trying to round them up, they'll go out with a backpack of dates for 10 days and gather up all their,
Oh, okay.
and
So
just live off of those dates for those days because that's
no
all they have.
food, no other food.
No, but it has all, it's a superfood. It has a bunch of nutrients. So I guess it's enough. Yeah.
That is amazing. That in itself is worth, like researching into. That is so fascinating because we know it's a superfood as Muslims. We go crazy over it in Ramadan, obviously to break our fast, but there's so much more to it than that. And to realize that people are actually living off of it and no one really talks about that. That's so cool. So do you sell only the sugar or the dates as well?
We sell the sugar right now, and then we have some other products that are coming out, like date paste and dates in a snack pack, and then also date powder, which is a finer grind. And so the sugar that I showed you, it's more for like cooking and baking and those types of things. But the powder you could actually put into your coffee or your tea.
Ah, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was having my morning coffee this morning and I said, that's one of the questions I need to ask you is that I put it in my coffee. So why not the sugar?
Well, because it's so fibrous, which makes it healthy, right? You want the fiber. It's an
Mhm.
excellent source of fiber. So, in order for it to retain the fiber, it doesn't dissolve as well. But we found that if you grind it super fine, it will dissolve mostly. There's still going to be some residue in the bottom of your mug, but not like there would be, yeah, otherwise.
Now, also when we talked, you said that when baking with this or cooking with it, with the date sugar, that it's not 1-to-1 to regular sugar, right? Why is that?
Well, it kind of depends on your preference of the sweetness. Like as Americans, I think we're really used to, or as Westerners, we're really used to sweet foods. But I found that now, like when I go back to the States, things are really sweet, like too sweet. And so
Mhm.
I think over time, like you can make it a 1-for-1 substitute. Like now I do. But at first, maybe if you're just now trying it, maybe it's not as sweet as white sugar. It's like I think a third less sweeter than white sugar. So you might want to use a little bit more if you want that desired sweetness. Otherwise, if you don't really want it that sweet, it's okay. You can just do a 1-for-1 substitute.
But texture wise, because baking is so exact and everything is weighed, but would 1-to-1 be okay in that sense? Like
Well, what you
texture
would have
wise?
to do, yeah, is you would have to add either, this is what I do. I either, if I'm baking, I decrease the dry ingredients by 25%. And then I add a little bit of it liquid, maybe an egg, or you just have to be brave and experimenting with it, really. There's not an exact measurement. Or if you want to keep the flour the way that the recipe states, then you can just add more liquid. And I've been cooking for so long now, I just kind of can know like what kind of consistency a cake recipe is supposed to be or something like that. But we have recipes on our website that are tried and true that we've spent a lot of time putting together. So if you don't want to do the guessing work, you can just go there.
Just go to your recipes. Well, I for those of you who are watching, I put the link for PurDate.com on here, so you can check their website out. And Chelle is so nice to. She's going to share some recipes at the end of this video, and then we'll put them on myhellokitchen.com with the video later. But for now, let's just continue talking about things like where we can find your product in the U.S. and anywhere else.
Okay, so right now, currently, you can go to our website, which you just said you were going to post, PurDate.com, PurDate.com. That's with no E on Pure. And then you also can go to Amazon and you can find us there. And then in the summer, inshallah, we hope to launch in Whole Foods in 3 regions along the eastern coast in the States. So inshallah, you can find us there in June.
Oh, nice. And you'll let me know, right? You'll let me know that I can tell people because, that's just making it easier. And even people can shop Whole Foods on Amazon too. So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing that lately when I'm really busy. It's kind of easier, but But to know that, here you are, working with these lovely people in your community to bring this date sugar to us is really special. And I think after people get to meet you, it's going to be even more special to find your product in the stores nearby. So, and let's get into that, because when we spoke. Oh, actually, let me go to this comment first, and then we'll talk about the community. This is really interesting. Maybe there's something similar in Tunisia. Carolyn says the Tuaregs in northern Mali make a mixture of dried goat cheese, crushed dates, and dried gazelle meat, which they carry around when they're traveling in a caravan. They then add a few spoonfuls to camel's milk for a super nutritious meal. Wow, that sounds like a nutrient-dense, super food. Is there anything like that? Have you ever heard of that in Tunisia?
I haven't heard of that, no.
I wonder if
we get very creative here, though.
Yeah. And it seems like most things are dried because first of all, the sun is, helping with that intense sun, but in order to preserve things on those long caravans. And we don't realize, those of us who are not in those parts of the world don't realize that this stuff still exists. We kind of think it's only something in the movies, but there's still people going through the desert, right? I mean, not just for tours, but this is their business, right?
In front of our house, there's always a donkey and a cart at least several times a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long would it take? I know you said 5 hours driving from where you are to Tunis, right?
To the capital 7.
Capital 7.
Yeah.
And if they go by caravan, how long would it take?
Well, I don't think they would. Most people haven't left who have grown up here.
They just stay within the desert.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not actually going to the cities or anything to trade. Not like that.
Most, no. I mean, some go to university. Now the younger generation you see wanting to maybe leave, but I mean, a lot of women who have families who are my age, they have no desire to travel. They've been here all their life, and they're perfectly fine here.
Wow. So tell us about, that's a good segue into the community that you work with. Tell us about, the things that you're doing. And you don't really have to do all these things. As a business owner, you have a lot to do to bring the product to market, but you've decided to give back to the community and provide a nice, healthy, safe environment for the people who work for you. Can you elaborate on that? I think you have a beautiful story, and I wanted you to share that with everybody, all the things you told me.
Yeah, sure. So when we started our business, we wanted to employ mostly women. And that's because I feel like that when we empower women, they're the main influencers on their children, and they can make a huge difference impacting the next generation. And so that was kind of something strategic that we wanted to do. So most of our employees are women trying to earn a living for their families. And we want them to have a brighter future for their kids. And so most of them are aimed at doing that. And so we provide year-long meaningful employment with benefits where this is not the norm. And we treat them with dignity and respect where that's not necessarily the norm here. We pay above the average wage in an area where unemployment is high and low paid seasonal employment is the norm. So a lot of times during harvest season, when the dates need to be sorted, the ladies will be hired for those months, September through December or October through December, and then they will be out of a job the rest of the year. So we make sure that our ladies are employed year round and there's always work for them, no matter the weather or whether we can grind dates or not. We also touch base with the ladies once a quarter just to kind of get a pulse on like how things are doing. We ask them things like, are you feeling safe in this environment? Are you feeling heard and listened to? Are you in good health? Is your family in good health? Because that's important here. When you live in a communal place, they're very community based here. If there's an issue at home, then, it's our issue. We need to know about that and help them in whatever way we can, because you do things as community here, opposite of individualistic. And then just what can we do to better help them? We ask them questions like that, and they speak up and they tell us, and we can't do everything they ask us, but we try to do what we can. We've started doing exercise classes twice a week for the ladies in the morning, like stretches. And so this is a time they can just take off their hijab and feel relaxed and laid back and comfortable. And we have a coach that comes in and does some stretches with them, and it really gets them off to a good start for the day. We hold trauma healing sessions. It's a time for them to like express their difficulties and life and receive healing from emotional wounds that they might have had in the past. And that's something that they don't really talk about here in the culture very much. So for us to be a space and a place for them to talk about those things is a big deal because it's not normally talked about here. We also run English camps for the youth in our community. We just finished running an English camp for the youth here. So that would be like middle school age to high school age students. We had spring break and there's not a lot to do here. So we don't want them to get into trouble. So running an English camp for them is going to be better. And we had a really great time. We had some native English speakers from America come in and professional teachers, who have masters in teaching English come in and teach them. So they felt really valued in that way. So everything we do is just to like show that we value and care about them and to just treat them with integrity. Yeah.
So you're in it for the long haul. This isn't something, I mean, you're living there. You're living in
our kids are going to school here. We're fully integrated.
Wow. And how many years has it been that you're there? You're living there in the desert?
7 total in the country, but 3 here in the desert. Yeah.
Wow. And in just 3 short years, you've basically created this whole ecosystem and developed relationships with the community. That's amazing.
It's not hard when you're the only foreigners here. They're always like, "Why are you here? What are you doing?" It's a
right,
small
exactly. Do you miss? How often do you come back to the U.S. and do you miss it?
Usually once every 2 years, but we'll be going back this summer because my daughter needs some speech therapy and she's young, so we need to get her the help she needs. So we were back like 18 months ago, so we'll go back a little bit earlier, but usually once every 2 years.
Wow, and you'll escape the heat.
Man, the heat is bad. I'm from Texas, and I know heat, but
you're from Texas, exactly, and it's hotter than Texas.
Oh, well, yeah, it's because like we don't really have air conditioning. We have these little air units, but a lot of times the electricity goes off, and so we don't have anything. So in June, it was 120 degrees already, and that's when I told my husband, I think we need to go to the coast. I can't do this. But,
right. But I'm sure that the locals have come up with, they know how to handle it. Like, no problem, right? I always wondered about that. How do they deal with the heat?
Well, I will tell you what they do is they sleep most of the day, or at least rest most of the day, and then most of their life is done at night.
Yeah,
or early morning, and they sleep on the roof. I don't know, maybe you've seen that before, but
yeah.
At night.
Is it cold? At night, is it cold?
In the winters and in even the fall and even now it's cold at night because the weather drops, the temperature drops drastically at night in the desert.
And it has to be a welcome cooling from the heat.
It is, it's getting hot now though. So
wow, you're a brave soul. You're a brave soul. I need temperate all year round, or I'm miserable.
California weather is nice.
Yeah, but if you go inland, it's I don't think it's as hot as that, but it's hot. Yeah, even just 30 minutes away, it's like, whoa, what happened? You're away from the coast. Yeah. So Carolyn, the woman who talked about the Tuareg meals, she said, my ex-husband is Tuareg, so I know all about it. They store it in leather pouches, and I have to admit it smells pretty strong. I've also spent a lot of time in Tunisia, but I've never seen this food product, which is only available amongst the most nomadic tribes. So some tribes do make it. She lived in Mali for several years. Oh, that's interesting. So it's we found somebody who's got probably reminiscing a little bit from your story. So let's talk about the date sugar a little bit more. Can you recommend some recipes with it? Because we're having Ramadan pretty soon. Ramadan's coming up. Suhoor, iftar. we need ideas. Can you give us some
Sure.
ideas about what would be a good way to, especially, I think people try to get healthier in Ramadan. It just seems to be one of those things where we're conscious about what we're eating. We are maybe sometimes it's a fear. Like I know I sometimes think I'm so careful because I don't want to have that sugar crash. So I basically cut out all cookies and, not that I eat a ton of those things, but, I'm really conscious of like, if I have sugar, I'm going to crash later and I'm going to feel miserable. I'm not going to get work done. And, so the date sugar seems to be a perfect alternative for cooking and baking, and maybe even smoothies and, maybe homemade yogurts and things like that. So any ideas you can help us with? I know you've got a few things back there that you want to.
I do. I have some things. Yeah, I think just the easiest way to use it is like in a smoothie. It's extra fiber. It has 45 times more antioxidants than honey. It's like out of this world on antioxidants, which nobody would really know that unless you did some research on it. So it is the healthiest sugar on the market. It also has iron, calcium, potassium for the heart, magnesium for stress. So all kinds of really good properties in it. And it's about a third less calories than white sugar. So the easiest ways to use it are going to be like in your smoothie, or sprinkle it on oatmeal or porridge in the mornings. And that my kids eat that every morning for breakfast. And that's just a good healthy way to start the day. Another way is like in yogurt. And so in natural yogurt without any sugar, you can add it to the yogurt. And so that way you do have sweet yogurt, but it's sweetened naturally. And so that's also a good option. But yeah, let me head over here and I'll show you a few things I prepared.
Chelle's going to go to her kitchen and just to walk us through some recipes that she's made, and we'll have the recipes on our website afterwards, inshallah.
Okay,
so go ahead. No, go ahead.
Tonight, my family for dinner had these really good, I don't know if you can see them.
Yeah, why don't you bring it close to the computer?
Delicious.
Meatballs.
Yeah, meatballs are Asian meatballs with a side of rice and a cucumber tomato salad. They eat that a lot here, the cucumber tomato salad. So you can eat these just straight like this, or you can eat it on top of rice, and that's really good. And so for that, where's the way I use date sugar.
Where's the date sugar in that recipe? In the sauce?
So the date in the sauce.
The sauce is it. Oh, delicious.
So I'll tell you how I made this sauce. It's super simple. It's just 1/4 cup of soy sauce, and then 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, or you can just use fish sauce, but I didn't have that, so I did the combination of the two.
Mm-hmm.
You grate 1 tablespoon of ginger into it, and then if you want it a little spicy, you can do just a dash of sriracha sauce.
Okay.
And you mix it all together in a pan on the stove, and you add water to get the consistency as thick as you want. And you can also use this marinade as like for chicken on a grill. It's also really good like that. So for meat that you cook on a grill, you can use the marinade for that as well. I just like to use it in this specific recipe.
So sounds
like a good one and super easy to put together.
It sounds like a lot of the Asian dishes. Like when I'm making Asian salad dressings or anything with soy sauce and even for sushi or whatever, but they always, a lot of recipes ask for white sugar to put it in. And I always hesitate because I don't want to put white sugar in. So this would be perfect for Asian dressings. Yes, nice. Very good idea. I love it.
Ask for brown sugar as well. It has sort of a caramel flavor.
I was going to say it does. Yes. It's almost like if you're using a brown sugar. Yeah. But lighter. It's much lighter.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
It subs really well. And also just like bread. I can't hear you.
You can.
It's
okay.
Just a little bit delayed.
Okay. Carolyn is asking, what about making baklava with date sugar? And does it melt like white sugar?
Yeah, it doesn't melt like white sugar. It doesn't caramelize like that. So
Mhm.
I don't know that it would work. I've never tried it in baklava. But if you try it, I'd love to know.
And maybe we'll have to experiment with that. Why not, right? We should try. So if you're trying to make a caramel, you wouldn't use date sugar, but everything else maybe. Okay.
Oh, I have a really good caramel sauce recipe on the website. Yeah, you can
Okay.
definitely do a caramel sauce. You would just add cream with the date sugar and some vanilla. Yeah.
Okay. I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Maybe you can bring the next one close up, the next recipe.
All right. And so I made some yummy mousse here,
Mhm.
some chocolate mousse.
Oh, nice.
So this recipe would be nice for dessert later at night after you've had your iftar meal to break the fast. And what's in that one is just 2 cups of cream. And you can use any kind of cream that you want. So if you're vegan and you don't want to use dairy, you could use coconut cream. You could also use sour cream, or creme fraiche is what we use here because that's what's available. I don't know how available that is.
Yeah. We can find it at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. Most places have creme fraiche, which is so delicious.
Good.
Yeah. I would think that date sugar would go nicely with the taste of coconut. I would think it.
Yes, it does. That's our next recipe.
Okay. See,
So the mousse, you put cream and the milk. So 2 cups of cream, 1 cup of milk, and 4 tablespoons of cocoa. And I like to add either date paste or date syrup. You don't have to. So the date paste, I just make it on my own. I just take dates and I grind it up in a food processor. And it's about this consistency. And I add that to the pudding, and it's really delicious.
Okay. Oh, that's a good thickener. It's not.
Sorry, what was your question?
It's a good thickener. Makes it thick. Yeah, we're having some trouble.
You can add water with it if you don't want it as thick.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then my last dish, this would be, you could use this as a side or you could use it for dessert. And it's just a pear pomegranate salad, but we don't have pomegranates this time of year. We don't get things that are out of season, so I don't have pomegranates in it.
No, I understand.
Delicious with pomegranates.
Yeah. Can you bring it close and show us?
So it has, yeah, sure. So this one's super easy too. It's pears with date sugar, with coconut, because it does go really well with coconut, with walnuts, and then with some natural yogurt. Like I use a Greek yogurt, but you can use whatever you prefer. Yeah. Okay.
And if you have pomegranates at the time, you can just sprinkle them on top.
Well, I assume in America you can find pomegranates most of the time.
Yeah.
You can get things that are out of season, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe not. But I make it a lot in the fall.
We have them now, but they were like $5 for one at the store the other day. I couldn't believe it. In California, it's a bit unreal, but they're not in season anyway. Okay, so thank you. That was wonderful, and I think we'll be able to get all the recipes. You have those recipes on your website too, but you said you would share them with us, and I'll be using the date sugar this Ramadan and beyond. It's new to me. I've known about date sugar. I've seen maybe 1 or 2 brands that have done it in the past couple of years, but I haven't really used a lot of it before. But now I'm more and more convinced that it's something that I want to, use. I don't have white sugar in my house, but I'm going to wait for the powdered sugar to come out because I'd like to add that to coffee. I mean, I don't take coffee with any sugar, but sometimes I kind of miss a little sweeten. Oh, that's how the powder's going to come.
This will be in date powder. And it's in a spout, so you can just easily pour it into your tea or your coffee.
Oh, how clever. That's really clever. Very good.
It makes a really good frosting, too. If you just add some milk or water with it, it makes a delicious frosting for a cake. I just like to eat it just like it is.
Wow. And I saw your Instagram photos of and videos of your daughter just kind of digging into this stuff. It's very cute. We'll post it.
Yeah, that was for real. I didn't tell her to do that.
It looked very natural. She just went for it. Yeah, she just totally went for it. Well, this has been wonderful and very educational. I'm actually, you've piqued my interest to kind of do some more research on the health benefits of date sugar. I mean, we know a lot of the health benefits of dates. I mean, why wouldn't its sugar be any different? And you don't add anything to these products. Just that's all that's there.
No.
I mean, if you look at the ingredients,
You just dry it and grind it. That's it. So anything that's in a date is going to be in the sugar. And what's different about our sugar is a lot of times, like, for example, stevia, we'll say they're all natural. Well, the FDA doesn't really regulate that very closely. And actually, it has no nutrition in it because once it's been processed, I mean, yes, it is from a plant, but once it's been processed as much as stevia has been processed, it extracts all the nutrients from it. So I would say most sugars are like that. I mean, you've got your honey and your maple syrup that are going to have some nutrition as well, but most of them do
processing. It's the processing that's usually what destroys the products. I mean, my family, half of the side is from Puerto Rico, and they basically lived off of sugar cane many generations ago, and it wasn't that gave them energy, but it was the actual sugar cane, that they even sell it in some stores where they buy it and they can kind of chew on it, and that's the natural form, but the way that it's processed and bleached is the problem. So in your product, what I is 100% organic dates. That's it, nothing else. And your processing is not destroying the nature of this product. So that's really key, in anything we buy. And I always tell people, make sure you are reading things, reading the labels, because you can have something that is natural, but what has the process done to destroy that product? So I think what you're doing is a service to us in the sense that you're helping us to stay healthy by providing something that we're not going to be able to go and do ourselves. So we appreciate that, and it's wonderful that you're so helpful to the people around you, and that they feel happy to work with you, and that you're so integrated in the community. That's really, really cool. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with today? I know that it's nighttime for you. You probably want to wind down. So anything else you'd want to share with us?
Yeah. Well, I would just say, since COVID, I think a lot of people struggle with anxiety now when they didn't struggle with it before. And I do think that sugar does have an impact on our mental health, and just with my experience with my nephew. And so I would just, I think people are looking for more natural ways to heal the body and not just using medicines. And I think that's going to be a big deal going forward. I think this is a preventative for sure for that. And, what we eat affects how we feel. And when we feel good, we're empowered to reach our potential. And so we are a company that's about holistic health. So we're not just about, the health of the consumer, but also the health of the people making your sugar as well.
Absolutely.
So we're kind of looking at it all.
Absolutely. I mean, and so many things start out really good, but then, turn really sour when the people aren't treated right. And it's, there's a holistic process to all this. And I really respect what you're doing. And I think that that puts a lot of what we say, baraka in it, that there's blessing and doing the right thing through and through, not just one aspect of it. So I've really enjoyed meeting you, and I look forward to trying this product in Ramadan and also the other ones when they come out. And we'll just stay connected and continue to, share ideas, recipes, and things like that. And we'll just keep our audience informed of what you're doing. And where can everybody find you on social media? Your Instagram is...
So we have, an Instagram, PurDate Sugar. So PurDate Sugar. That's our Instagram. And then our Facebook is the same, PurDate Sugar as another word. You can find us there.
Okay. I'm just adding that to our chat.
Yeah, and you can follow with the ladies, what we're doing with the ladies, and talk about what's going on in the community and all of that.
Awesome.
So, just about the sugar.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd love to see some more Tunisian recipes coming out of there. Maybe those
Yeah.
ladies can come up with some
Oh,
versions of, yeah, it would be really neat to see, I think there's a mutual exchange of ideas and tradition, and, it can be really neat to be a little innovative with them, and, but still hang on to the culture and the traditions that are there. So you have an excellent, you know, uh, just business and community life that's really cool and inspirational. So thank you so much for your time. And for those of you who are watching, you can, if you're watching the replay, you can click the like button to help other people see videos like this, and click on the bell for notifications for any new videos that come out. And please don't forget to subscribe and follow PurDate on Instagram and Facebook, and go to their website and see what's coming out in the future. Thank you so much, Chelle. It's been wonderful to talk with you, and thanks for spending your evening with us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. See you soon.